Okay, so I think everyone's connected and can hear us, so we're going to kick off. Yeah. Okay, so cheers for coming along to the brand product spotlight. We have just two areas to cover off on today. So first of all, brand lift surveys, and then Christina is going to jump up and do budget fulfillment. So all kind of brand-based video. Let me just flick over to the other deck. Oh, wonderful. Sorry, I'm after closing that. Okay, so perfect. Yeah, just want to give you kind of a full nationwide update on brand lift and in particular brand lift surveys today. So for those of you who weren't on 2 weeks ago, I'm Simon. I'm a video ORP for NACE, and I'll be leading on the brand lift and brand lift surveys. Also with me are Claudio from our YouTube monetization team, who also will be leading on brand measurement throughout the year, and Rohan from the market insights team, who is our obviously market insights expert for all things technical. So we are a bit short on time, so I'm going to start just kind of moving on quickly. Firstly, to give you kind of an overall idea of kind of the Google vision for this, we just want to be able to give advertisers a lot more insightful analysis and the tools to do this. So it kind of falls into three main buckets. For all things technical. Guys, if you're on VC, can you mute? So I'm going to start just kind of moving on quickly. Firstly, to give you kind of an overall idea of kind of the Google vision for this. We just want to be able to give advertisers a lot more insightful analysis and the tools to do this. So is that not someone unmuted who's playing myself back to me? It falls into three main buckets. In case you missed it the first time, we're replaying it for you guys. Firstly, to give you kind of an overall idea of kind of the Google vision for this. We just want to be able to give advertisers a lot more insightful analysis and the tools to do this. Okay, so but do you guys still have the slides? Is that not someone unmuted who's playing myself back to me? It falls into three main buckets. In case you missed it the first time, we're replaying it for you guys. That's our office. Okay, we're just going to have to go for it and deal with our technical difficulties as usual. So it falls into three main buckets. So see, think, and do. So see is really about making sure that your advertising campaigns are hitting your audience. And this is done through extra reach and active view. Think then is our brand lift. And this is in two areas. So brand lift surveys and then also search lift. And then do is about actually measuring sales lift. And this is obviously one of the most complicated pieces and will be much later in 2014. So D is really about making sure that. So what are we doing? What's our positioning? What's this all about? So first is the solution in the house. So that is what we've just gone over, the see, think, do. The reason we're doing this is because we want to be able to provide a lot more value to our customers. So we want to be more efficient by running their campaigns. Think is all about being a lot more effective and allowing our advertisers to optimize what they're doing for branding. And then we also want to be able to drive sales. It all falls into kind of the guiding principles we have about providing value and really being able to improve what our advertisers are doing. And overall, the promise is that if you're with Google, we can help you move your brand in your business. So we want to be able to show our brand advertisers that if they put their branding dollars with us, we can help them move the needle on their business. So brand lift. It all falls into kind of so yeah, it's a research tool that's going to be integrated right into the AdWords interface, and it's really about allowing advertisers to optimize the campaigns they're running with us, getting greater efficiency, and measuring the brand lift that they're getting off these campaigns. So as I said, it falls into two main buckets. Brand surveys, which we'll be announcing tomorrow at the IBA keynote, and then search lift, which we're hoping will be launching in Q2. So to kind of give you a roadmap, which some of you may already have seen in previous presentations, is right here. The first metrics we're going to be launching, which is on February 20th, are around ad recall and brand awareness. This is going to be just for TrueView and just on desktop when it initially launches. and it'll be within 10 markets. So the US and then 9 more that you can see there at the bottom. For NACE, it's UK and Germany, but there's also a lot of other European markets that your advertisers may commonly target, which are worth noting. And we will be sending around the deck so you can kind of get the more intricate details off the slides once we're done. So yeah, we're going to come to all the requirements. This is one of the important things to note. For the launch on the 20th, between the 20th of February and the kind of full rollout, which we're hoping is going to be end of quarter, it is a whitelisting process. So we'll be checking on that, but we'll actually check into the requirements that you'll need to be able to run this in just a few slides. So tomorrow we are doing the announcement at the IAB keynote. So just in case you do get on the phone to anyone today, please don't discuss this until after that. February 20th is going to be the initial rollout. It's going to be initially for NACE brand NAL clients, but if you do have any clients that are running any YouTube tests that you think this would be really valuable for getting future investment, or if there's any kind of large investment campaigns, definitely feel free to get in touch or to access the form and fill them in. And depending on numbers, if we can allow them run a survey, we definitely will. And then by end of quarter, start of Q2, we're hoping that all markets will be available and will be available to all clients. So this is all then about selling the value of brand lifts, and this is what's really going to be important in these coming days once the announcement goes and your clients kind of start getting in touch. So we want to help marketers to gain a lot more effectiveness. So as we said, reach and exposure. So that's the first piece all about C, and it's just really about gaining effectiveness in their campaigns. Then where brand lift surveys is going to fall is into this middle section. So initially, as I said, you've got ad recall and brand awareness. And then we're also going to be launching consideration, favorability, and purchase intent. So obviously, depending on your advertiser's goals, the different metrics are going to be more or less important to them. But these are all really important to show the value that they get when they spend their branding dollars with Google. And then the last piece of the funnel is all around purchasing. So this is obviously, as I said, going to be coming later in H2 of this year. So what are the main benefits around kind of this whole brand lift survey? So first of all, it measures what matters. So it goes past what we've typically provided brand advertisers, which is clicks and impressions, and actually looks at things like ad recall, brand awareness, and consideration. It allows them to optimize on the fly. So they'll get their initial reports within 7 to 10 days. They can optimize the campaigns they're currently running to get the most value from that campaign, but they can also take these learnings and apply it to future campaigns. And we'll go into a few more kind of details around that in a minute. And then we use best-in-class methodology. So we'll go into the methodology in a bit more detail, but we use server layer, and we put some really good kind of steps in place to ensure that we give accurate, fast, and casual results. What are the kind of main questions we'll be able to answer? So we'll be able to look at reach and frequency and how they can maximize that for brand lifts. So in the reports they get into their account, we'll be able to look at how different levels of reach and different levels of frequency have aided brand recall, so they can actually make decisions for future campaigns around these metrics. We can also look at how they're performing against their demographics on a current campaign. So they can obviously shift budget to where they're really going to get the most recall. But also if they're missing out on a strategic demographic, they can then also consider changing their messaging for future campaigns, which can be really something that we haven't been able to show before. We can look at creative variation. So again, if you run different creatives in different campaigns, and you can see that certain ones are hitting on demographics. If some are hitting on your core demographic, that's obviously where you're going to want to put most of your branding dollars. And then we can also identify top campaigns and strengthen the brand strategies. So one of the things we'll touch on in the coming campaigns is this is something you should try and run for lots of campaigns for your key advertisers, so you can take really good nuggets of information from their whole array of campaigns, not just one per advertiser, which isn't going to give you as much insight with a particular brand. So quickly then, just to touch on how they work, it's really simply done within the AdWords interface. It has to be done at the start of the campaign. If a campaign is already running, you won't be eligible to run a survey. Once we then set it up, we break respondents into two groups. So of the target, people who are shown the ad, and then people who should have been shown the ad but are in fact shown a different ad, and they're put into the control group. Then after at least 1 hour, and then before the 48-hour mark, we'll reserve them with a survey. And this will work just like a standard kind of in-stream ad. It'll appear within the YouTube player, and it will last for 15 seconds. So they have the choice to respond or to skip. So far we've seen respondent rates of about 20%. And then lastly, within 7 to 10 days, just when we hit the numbers we feel is right, we'll publish the results into their AdWords account. So kind of to answer your question from earlier, this is the requirements for now. So when we go live on the 20th, as long as the account's been whitelisted, they just need to be running a TrueView in-stream only campaign. It must be a campaign that has not yet started. It needs a daily budget of $1,000. Again, this and running for at least 7 days is so that we can get in enough numbers so that we can make measurable results and really be confident in the data we're providing. And the campaigns for right now will only be measuring on desktop. So the campaign can be a cross-device campaign, but initially the surveys will only be served to people on desktop. We're hoping to launch mobile on March 16th. So what's best to look at? So brand-focused campaigns. So yeah, it would need to be. So the spend is just a guide really to make sure that we get in enough numbers so that we're confident that the amount of people we've surveyed gives us really good results. So you'll see it's, we'll come to the actual breakdown of how that is. You'll see it's, we'll come to the actual breakdown of how that is. You'll see it's, we'll come to the actual breakdown of how that is. You or your managers get along to the trainings about how to analyze the results. These metrics aren't something that we've obviously dealt with previously. So we want to make sure that people feel confident talking about them, and also how they can definitely, if there's any objection handlings, if the advertisers feel that the results aren't where they'd like them to be, we want to make sure that the salespeople are fully equipped to talk through this. And obviously we want advertisers who are willing to optimize and be flexible with their campaigns. If you see that you're getting really good performance against one demographic but not against the other, you obviously want to shift the budget towards that demographic for that particular campaign, because it's going to give you better results for that piece of activity. And then willing to run future campaigns where they'll test different creative messaging to see if they can hit it right with their demographics.
Can I just add one thing to that?
Yeah.
Consistent with the fresh creatives, in an ideal world, there will also be campaigns that don't have a lot of TV activity at the same time. So for the same reason that an older creative, we might have already sort of seen the uplift, the same thing could happen if there's a heavy weight of TV. Obviously, it can't be sort of, we don't have complete flexibility to always hit that, but there will also be some advantage for a campaign without a lot of TV activity at the same
time. Okay, so just a quick review of the methodology, as I said, is it's serverless, so we use the control group, and it's completely random which group you're put into. It's purely on the day. It's a 10x sample size and a 200x response rate. It's really actionable results. As I said, they're broken down into all your different demographics, so age and gender. It looks at frequency of times you've seen the ads, and it will also look at people who have skipped versus not skipped. So this can be really insightful for obviously creative development. The results, as I said, come out really fast. You won't get served the survey until at least 1 hour after, And that's a good differentiator of our surveys. Lots of surveys will show the actual survey right after you've been exposed to the ad, whereas we leave it at least 1 hour, and then we won't go past the 48-hour mark. And then, as I said, it's 7 to about 10 days, depending on how quickly you get your respondents and how quickly you hit on your $1,000 a day budget. There's no tagging, there's no setup, it's all within the interface, and it's completely free. So these are all really good advantages that we have over other providers. One of the important things to notice is that we aren't in the business of selling research. This is really just to help you optimize and work better with our products and really ensure that you're getting the best for your brand when you're running campaigns with Google, and to show that if you do take your branding dollars off other medias and put them online, that we can help you measure that and make the most of it. So as I said, there's some things just to manage when this gets announced tomorrow that you may get questions around. So that it's, right now we don't cover off on the low funnel metrics. There is been the rare case where we haven't been able to provide actionable results. So if this does happen, it's not completely unique. It has happened in a couple of instances. We do not and should not be compared to third parties. We use a completely different methodology, and also they'll measure lots of different forms of media, whereas we stand to the fact that our surveys are to measure your Google activity. And we can't exactly look at, sorry, I lost that last one. So we can look at how skipping differentiates on recall and awareness right now, but because that's a completely exposed group, it's not quite to the same level as our other metrics, which look at a control group and an exposed group. We can't obviously make an assessment on the control group, how many would have skipped and not have skipped, so therefore we don't have that casual analysis there. Then just some key objection handling. So as I said, one of the big things is that the first one is that we are doing this so you can really optimize your Google campaigns, and like we're completely neutral. We're not here to measure your other forms of media. Our methodology, because we use the randomized approach, we use the control group and the exposed group, and because of the sample size we used, we're very confident that it's best in class methodology. So why should people care about casual lift to correlated lift? Again, it's because of the way we do our methodology that we feel a lot more confident that the uplift we're seeing is coming most of the time from our products. Whereas if you're using a correlation lift, it doesn't show that it's exactly down to the exposure of the one ad. And then lastly, why shouldn't they compare this to other studies like what they're running on TV? And again, it is down to the fact that the methodology we use is not the same as other survey providers, and therefore that's why we wouldn't want to be compared against them. So I'm not sure if people on the VC got cut out for bits of that. I was saying we will send a deck around, but does anybody have any questions around this? No? Perfect. I will pass you over to Christina then for, where's it going? Here we go. Around 10. Budget fulfillment.
Hi guys, I am the other video RP for NACE, and I'm going to take you very quickly through budget fulfillment. This is something that some of you may or may not be aware of, but something that is going to grow in focus and importance this year. And I think definitely for you guys and working with your account managers, something that could be really useful for kicking off a pod meeting. Those that we've seen using this in pod meetings to really effectively use up the budget that has been committed to them by clients, and we've really seen some amazing effects. So I'm going to take you through very top line what this tool is using an example, but we're going to Dublin on Wednesday to train up your account managers there, so people will be aware of how to use this tool, and the ask from you is to be aware that it's there, and then obviously encourage the use of it. You can definitely be jumping in and using it yourself, but it's really a tool to flag campaigns that are under delivering on the budget that's been committed within the AdWords for Video account. So Why has this tool been created? In 2013, not quite the full year, but January through till September, 10% of the total NACE LCS spend committed to campaigns was not actually completed. So that actually equated to about $20 million that clients put into an AdWords for Video account and literally just didn't finish spending that money. So a couple more stats for you there. 50% of current live campaigns have a performance of under 95%. So on average, 50% of campaigns are actually running at 95% of their budget committed or under that. So essentially at the moment, a third of that opportunity actually lies within the top 10 campaigns. I'm going to take you through very quickly now what opportunity actually means, but the idea being that those 10 accounts with the highest opportunity are the ones that are, according to the end of their campaign, are underspending at the highest rate. So the tool looks like this. It's quite a lot of text to start with, but really it's broken down into four main areas. So help and resources, how to actually use the tool. Filters, so you can filter down by country, by pod, by agency. You can actually use lots of different filters to really break this down if you need to. And then we get campaign details and budget utilization stats. Really, this tool is useful mainly for flagging that something is under-delivering, but in order to actually action these changes, you need to get the account manager to jump in and start making adjustments. And those adjustment suggestions are actually included in the help resources there. So really, I would suggest that as salespeople or consulting clients, your job is mainly to look at this and make sure that you are not in this list. If that makes sense. And if you are, to make sure that something's being done about it account side. So this tool, the kind of top level stats that we get is the used budget. So on average, the daily budget utilization. So I'm going to take you through specifically this example in a second. Budget utilization opportunity. So in comparison to the end date and the rate of the budget being used, what is the size of that opportunity in a monetary value? The average daily budget over the past 7 days, and an impression share percentage. So this means based on your targeting options, your platform targeting, your geo-targeting, basically anything that you restrict your ad to in terms of targeting, what percentage of the potential audience are you actually managing to hit? So in this Sky example here, to give you a real life client example of how we could use this if we were opening this up quickly in a pod meeting and my client was Sky and I saw that we were only using 62% of the budget committed, we could say, okay, over the last 7 days, there was an average of 62% spend on this campaign per day. Why is that? I need to dive in further. So as the account manager, what would I do to change that and grow it above 62%? Through optimizing the campaign, I want to be hitting 100% of daily spend. So there is an incremental 24K available from now until the end of the campaign that I have basically not been hitting every day. I don't need to hit 24K a day incrementally towards the end of the campaign. If I continue on this trajectory, I'm going to miss spending 24K at the end of my campaign. So we start looking at very top level indicators. Is my view through rate too low in comparison to benchmark? Could this suggest that we could improve the campaign, the creative itself? Or is the frequency capping not very good? So these are the sort of questions we could be throwing out. Your account manager would dive into more detail, but at top level, this is what we could start suggesting. Is your CPV too low or too high compared to benchmark? Could you increase the bid? Do you need to decrease it? Again, questions that the account manager could dive into and address. But really, the top line is 64, by some kind of restriction on your targeting, you are not hitting 65 of your 100% intended audience. So this is an actual screenshot of a campaign that I looked at just last week. And I, acting as the account manager, dived in and decided that actually in order to improve this, the most dramatic effect would be to improve the creative itself, though there are tweaks that I could do to other things within these settings to improve that impression share. Yes, David.
Quick question, sorry I missed something, but is this telling you whether you've your entire account budget, or whether just your individual campaign?
Just individual campaign. Very good question.
But if they 100% on their entire account, maybe the still budget, all the budget's gone.
It could be. This compares the, so sorry, for those on VC, the question, correct me if I'm wrong, is comparison of the top line budget to a campaign level budget. Is that correct? So this compares spend committed at a campaign level to spend being actioned on a campaign level. So it would be split by campaign commitment and campaign spend. So that kind of makes sense against it, yeah. So in the interest of time, if you have any other questions, please come and see me afterwards. But I think, I hope you guys find this tool really useful. I would thoroughly recommend just literally seeing if you're in that top 10 of that week. This tool is super easy to use and grab that. And then obviously just say to your account manager, you have all of the instructions. If not, here's the link, and start working it out of that top 10 and fulfilling that budget. The link will be in here, but it's at GoTRV-campaigns. I'll make sure it's in here. Good job. Thank you. Who's on next? Is that us? Yep, go for it. Do you want me to close this then? No, we need.
It's the easiest way if I do it straight from mine. Hello, everybody, by the way.
Let's just sign in.
Sorry. Let me just,
So do you have the ID?
it's the same one, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you have that?
No, hang on. Let me just sign out of my ping. So it's go present.
454. Nope. No.
454.
32001.